Dan Crenshaw is. I had no idea. When I was covering the Arc and working on different videos for the Arc, I saw that he was a part of the organizing committee, I believe. That's what they're called. And I said, great, somebody who's in the U.S. government, somebody who knows their way around it, somebody who could be a voice in there. This is fantastic. And a lot of people in the comment section were like, this guy's a red flag all over the Arc. And I was just like, you know what? People just have their political leanings, and that's why they're just jumping down this guy's throat. I didn't know much of that about Dan Crenshaw at all. And I just recently saw a beef between him and David Goggins. And again, I don't know much about his politics, but this shows who he is as a man. And if this is how he is as a man, then I don't even know if he could be trusted working for the Arc. That's just my opinion, just from what I've seen. I'm really big on integrity, and what I'm about to show you just lacks a lot of integrity. It's almost just basically lying, just showing himself to be a liar. It's actually pretty wild. It's actually a clip from a podcast called Chips and Caviar. It's basically Chips and Caviar, the gentlemen who run this podcast. They had Dan Crenshaw on. Dan Crenshaw said a bunch of stuff about David Goggins, which I'm going to play for you right now. And then years later, actually recently, within this month, they had David Goggins on the podcast. And David Goggins actually reveals something pretty telling. That's pretty much the opposite of what Dan Crenshaw said. And it kind of shows him to be a little slimy, a little snakish, I got to be honest. And for a lot of you, that's no surprise. But for me, big surprise. I didn't realize. I thought this guy had more integrity. So let's get over here. Let's play this. So this is basically what you're about to see is Dan Crenshaw talking about David Goggins. Now this is in 2020. This is the first take that Dan Crenshaw is giving on David Goggins, right? And then I'm going to show you another clip of David Goggins pretty much outing him via a DM that Dan Crenshaw sent him. That is just basically the opposite of what he's saying now. It's completely two-faced. It's crazy. Let's get into it.
I've met him before, and we've talked and stuff, and he even says he's not super well liked in the community. But, you know, his book is very popular, right? Very, very popular. He doesn't talk about tactics or anything, right? But a lot of guys don't like that.
Yeah, so his book, I've never read his book, and I've never met a single SEAL who knows him. So I have no opinion. He doesn't have a very, what would I call it? His SEAL career isn't very full, I guess. You know, I mean, I don't. He's not known for any particular deployments or in anything in particular. So I don't know what his book's even about. You know, he seems to be selling more of a 50-mile run ultra marathon type of mentality. To me, it has nothing to do with the SEAL teams. And so again, his messaging is his whole demeanor. I can't relate with it at all. It's not very SEAL-like. SEALs don't act that way. And so that's his own brand. And I see some of his videos. He doesn't really talk about SEAL stuff. No. Obviously, the book has a picture of him in uniform. So it's like I just don't have much of an opinion because it seems to me like a totally different brand. But that is clearly boosted by the trident on his chest.
All right, David, you want to respond to that?
Well, I mean,
where do you want to go first? Where do you want to go first?
So, I mean, it goes a little longer. He talks about being tough. Yes.
So he pretty much gets into, now I'm going to skip ahead because it just goes right into David actually talking about the DM. But David breaks this down. Like after I showed you the whole DM part, he really breaks this down. And Dan Crenshaw is, in this instance, which when it comes to being a liar, if I see you as a liar in one instance, I see you as a liar, period. Don't really know, how everybody else stands on that, but that's just kind of me. It's just sucks. It sucks. Sucks to see, sucks to be wrong about, and it sucks that he's a part of the Arc. I'm like, I'm actually really sad about that. It's, sucks to see. Let's get into it. Here, I'll just play this clip. I just need to skip over.
So
There you go.
I don't know what happened. So anyway, just so you understand again, can you put the DM up now? So now you all know that's an official DM. And I just want to make sure that, okay, good. So I'll say it one more time because we're going to play his video again that totally tears me to shit. And I'm glad you said that, Aaron. His book came out in April of 2020. He DMs me January of 2020. And then he says, I have a book coming out in April that aligns well with your message. And I'll skip this. Hope to talk more. Good work out there, brother. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I will tell you, I didn't see his DM. I wasn't checking DMs at all. And so January, he DMs me. April, his book comes out. September, this is all of 2020. We still haven't talked. I haven't seen his DM. Then he goes on your podcast. So now let's bring up the podcast. Let's bring up Dan Crenshaw one more time, please. You might be one of the best podcasters out there, man. You may beat Joe Rogan's shit after this one.
Classic Goggins, but yeah, I mean, basically what they're gonna do now, they're gonna play the clip again of Dan Crenshaw talking smack about David Goggins, and it's just basically he says all these horrible things about David Goggins, how his career is not that full, he doesn't know anybody that knows him, all of these things. And David just breaks it down throughout this podcast. He shows that Marcus Luttrell, who also served as a Navy SEAL, he wrote a blurb for David Goggins' book on the back of Goggins' book. He did the same thing for Dan Crenshaw, and David's been on Marcus Luttrell's podcast. So it's like right away, there is a SEAL that they both know. So for him to say he's never met a SEAL that knows him, it's just a needless jab. It's just a straight up lie. It's just to see somebody act so snakish and then to have them be a part of something that I was so happy about. And I still am happy about the arc. I mean, that's one person in there. I'm going to be doing more research. I'm actually releasing something very soon about the money behind the arc. But it's just, he just showed himself to be a shitty person. This is what a shitty person does. You send someone a DM saying, hey man, love your work, think you're great, everything like that. You don't get a response, and then you decide to go on a podcast and then talk shit about them. It's just like, come on. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So again, that's how I am when I see somebody as a man. You know, I like now, even when I do go ahead and research him and learn about his politics, which, I mean, even when I was in the comment section of where I saw this, even there, I mean, we can just jump over real quick. Even the comment section of everybody talking about this, just talking about Dan McCrane, he's the new Dan McCrane. Dan Crenshaw is the, let me make sure you can see my thing. He's the new McCain. Dan Crenshaw tried to keep Chief Eddie in prison. Like, just hearing that is crazy. You know, somebody said something really, they said somebody, oh, here it is. Dan Crenshaw is a globalist flunky who coincidentally became one hell of a stock investor after getting elected. Stuff like that is just like, I know what that person's getting at when they say that. I mean, and there's been so much talk of him having direct connections to the WEF that I've been hearing about. And he probably, this is my thinking. This is strictly my opinion. I haven't researched it enough, but it seems like he wanted to join the WEF. He claims that he has no connection, but I know for a fact that at some point he did. It's kind of like a Tulsi thing where maybe he thought it was a good idea and then, you know, thought it wasn't after a while. But he probably wanted a position like the position he has on the ARC, you know, organizing committee. Whereas the World Economic Forum, they've been around for so long, they're not just taking Dan Crenshaw onto their leadership and governance. Like, they have like the head of BlackRock on that board. They don't need someone like Dan Crenshaw. Probably because he couldn't get that type of position, he decided to leave. and have no ties to them whatsoever. And now he's a part of the Ark where he has the position of power. And we'll see what happens. And the fact that he's became one hell of a stock trader, that in itself just disgusts me. I despise seeing people like Lindsey Graham, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, all of these people who enter office in the six figures of terms of what they're worth, maybe $1 million. And Nancy Pelosi is worth 9 figures now. I believe Adam Schiff or Lindsey Graham, they're both worth 8 or 9 figures as well. I think Lindsey Graham is like 69 million, and it just reeks of corruption. So to know Dan Crenshaw is like one of those guys just sucks. Didn't know. Apologize to anybody in the comment section who I ignored or said, hey, don't worry about it, blah blah blah. And yeah, that's it. Just a little sad situation for me, but we'll see how the Ark goes. I have not lost faith in the Ark because of this, but I definitely have lost faith in Dan Crenshaw. I'm out.